back with Jeff, Gabriel. We have another exciting topic. Jeff, if you want to take it from here and explain what the topic's about, because I know you like this subject quite a bit.
Oh, it makes me so happy. So today we're talking about passive versus growth activities. More concrete in the real estate as a real estate broker. The reason why I want to go more concrete because I do think that it's not everybody that understands the difference between passive and growth. So maybe Gabriel, you can explain what do we mean by passive versus growth activities.
Well, the basic definition of passive can be a bit confusing.
As he gets up on this chair,
Like, it's my turn now.
He was slouching for everybody to know. Stand up straight when you address the
because I don't want to intimidate you guys with my height. So I just slouch, but it's okay. The basic definition of passive, I wouldn't really say passive, I'd say more admin compared to growth, because passive can talk more about income and not the activity itself. But I would say the admin part of it, which shouldn't be more than 15-20% of your time, your whole week actually.
So Mike was arguing, just to interrupt you, Gabriel, just a second. Mike was saying, well, it's not passive, Jeff. It's passive means it's revenues that come in even though you don't do anything. But that's not what we were saying. We were talking about, maybe passive is not the right word. Maybe customer service. There you go. More administrative in nature kinds of activities that you shouldn't be privileging or doing these types of activities more than you're actually doing the growth. The growth meaning client acquisition, meeting new people, getting new buyers, sellers, in the case of a real estate brokers, more opportunity for new business. That's what we meant. That's what the equation is.
Okay, so if we talk about new opportunities, so anyways, we talk about business. My question here is if we, for example, we talk about taking care of a buyer. You have buyer coming in, you want to convert, you know it's going to convert eventually. Is taking care of a buyer a passive or a growth activity? Because in the common this buyer is the one that will bring you the business, that will bring you that will convert or at least bring dollars to your into your business.
It's an opportunity, right? So you think that you're going to actually get the transaction to go through, but you have someone in your example of being a buyer that has committed to working with you, that says to you, yes, I want to, or I'm interested in looking at the condos or whatever the properties are, right? But you haven't converted yet. But the acquisition part has been made yet already. The acquisition of the client, not the property. You see, you follow? So that's what I'm saying. So once you've got the, yes, I'll be working with you, now on to the servicing, the actual customer service part. And that thing can't be over or taking all the time of new or more acquisition. You follow? That's what I'm saying.
But it doesn't bring you that challenge. So eventually you do have that potential client that comes in. You still have to convert it or convert that potential, because it remains a potential.
Well,
right?
You have to fulfill on the obligation, right? So if in an example of you have a retail store, someone walks in, says, I want to buy your product, you go in the back, you're trying to build the thing or provide the service, yes, but you can't just close the front door and go in the back and be working on that thing that you're building for the client for 3 days. You see what I'm saying? So that's the difference. So it's hard to do. It's a juggling act. You got to keep the door open. You got to service the client, but you got to keep looking for new business. So that's where the 80-20. So it doesn't have to be 80-20. It could be 70-30. It's just the concept of understanding that you have to be always looking for new business, and not once you have an opportunity or you've acquired the potential buyer in the example that you mentioned, and then you run back to the store and you try to. So that's kind of what it is. Gabriel, if you want to say a few words, because we want to see if your mic is working.
Pretty much, yeah. But I'm just going to add on to your point. So really okay, well, apparently it's not working.
Can you turn the volume up, please, Stephen, for Gabriel?
It's not a volume.
No, turn the volume up. All right, so in the meantime, Mike, do we have any questions, comments?
I was actually going to repeat one of the questions that we had in the French segment, where they said that the fact of you having that many clients and not being able to service them, wouldn't that dilute your quality of your customer service?
And I'll let Jeff answer that one. See if he was paying attention.
No, I wasn't.
The beauty of this team, everybody's so fucking focused. The servicing part. The question is, how do I service? How my service going to be affected? Well, you got to find the solution, right? You got to find the solution. So if I'm capable of servicing 1 or 2 clients right now, because that's my skill set, then I have to do what? I have to learn how to do 2 or 3 more or 5 or 6 or whatever. It's all about learning. So who knows how to do that? Well, someone that's done it before, or someone that's doing it now with a bigger client base. So you follow what I'm saying? So if you don't know how to do it, or if you're doing it with 1 and 2 and it's kind of looking good, but then when you get to 2 or 3 or to 5 or to 6 clients, but now it's starting to be shaky, that means you got to increase something that you don't know. It's something that you don't know so that you can't be able to do the more clients. You understand? Is it clear?
I understand.
So that's what a business is. So as we grow, we have to find solutions to the problem that we'll encounter. Same for my company or our company. As it grows, we face new challenges. How do we keep the same experience for the client, but with more people involved, more staff, more managers, more this, more that? It's quite a challenge, but is it doable? Absolutely. Has anybody else done it before? Yes. And there's huge companies out there. When you look at those Starbucks or Amazon, they're huge. So how do you get the same experience?
Yeah, but doesn't it become a bit irrealistic for a broker who just starting into business to understand and comprehend how his business can you compare the business to an Apple, to a Starbucks, to the big boys that have that 20-25 years of business and maturity as a business, and then compare yourself to this. How do you do it?
Well, I like to use big examples like that because everybody knows these companies. If I start naming local business people, no one's going to know who the hell they are, and it won't be fun. And they'll be like, who the hell's that? I don't know. I can't relate. So it's easier for me to give an example of a big company. I could use myself, but then people would be like, well, of course you're talking about yourself.
Yeah.
But that's why I do it. But just someone that's achieved more than you is what I'm trying to say. So if Steven just started in real estate and he's capable of handling 1 or 2 buyers, but he comes and meets with Gabriel for training and he's like, I don't have time to do anything else. I'm overwhelmed. Well, these are things that you can learn. When I started with that same problem. Gabriel, I'm sure you have the same issues too in the beginning. Oh, I have 1, I have 2. I can't even imagine having 10 or 20 or 200. Now I'm at, 200 and something. And I'm looking at doubling in the next few months. There's things that I had to learn. Is your mic working, Gabriel? Can you participate, or we're done?
I don't know. Well,
Steven, can you give me a thumbs up?
test.
Someone from the team look at me and say, yes, it's and everything's working. Talk, my friend Gabriel. Talk.
Yes, but to all revolve around what you said. So you cannot grow to the level that you would see, let's say, the top 1% grow if you're really just trying to do it on your own. There's way too many factors. There's way too many things that people don't seem to consider when they're on the field. They're doing the 1, they're doing the 2, they're doing everything, but they don't seem to realize that second they're going to hit the 5, the 10, then they say, oh man, I'm really busy. People are starting to complain. Oh, I'm not getting back to them quick enough. And then they start putting all their focus on this instead of prospecting at all.
Yeah. I just gave me a thought. So maybe the problem is that once we have 1 or 2 clients or the opportunities, I think we have to, we're so excited about it that we don't think of the future. We think about the now and the potential of the now. But the key or the most important thing in business is to always be thinking about what's coming up next, because it's great that I have something right now, but what's going to happen in 2 or 3 months? And that's why a lot of the brokers, Gabriel, you know this more than anybody, they have this sporadic up and down in their revenues. Like there's section or segments of their business that goes well, or periods of the year, and then just nothing. Everything drops, and it's not consistent. Mike, we have a question or a comment.
Yeah, we have Mr. Sebastiani here that's saying he listened to a podcast that said something along the lines that as a realtor, we shouldn't think to just compete with other realtors. We should compete versus Amazon and Starbucks too.
Oh, that's beautiful, Nick. That's just beautiful. You see when I give these examples? Oh, sorry, Jeff. Repeat the question.
Okay,
Can
so
you give him the mic? Give the mic, the Big Mac Real Estate.
Okay, so he said, I listened to a podcast that said something along the lines of, as a realtor, we shouldn't just compete with other realtors. We should compete versus Amazon and Starbucks too.
See, that's beautiful. I think it's important to reach and to look and to learn from much bigger than what we have. Even though, Jeff, you were saying, well, what if this is too big of examples? Is it really too big? Can you aim too big? I don't think you can. I mean, if you're gonna want to develop yourself, you got to reach higher. You got to have big dreams and big goals. Plus, it makes it way more exciting. And is it attainable? Hell yes. I think it's attainable. We're going for it. So why not? It makes it fun. Steven.
Yeah, so I can't pronounce the name, but do you make sure to treat each buyer equally, or is it sometimes difficult to find the time and energy?
Do we make sure to service the client
Or how can you make sure?
in the same way, or how can you make sure? Well, you got to learn, you got to do it. So you got to make sure that whatever the experience is, whatever the system or the steps are, whatever makes it your personality is sustainable. So how do you do that? We talked about this, Gabriel, I don't know if you remember, but it was write down the steps that make it the experience. So every time you meet someone, if you meet someone, then what's the first thing you do, or what's the first questions you do? Do you send an email? Do you, whatever you talk about, do you add or send an email with the same content or a reference to something else? I don't know. Whatever it is, like I have examples. If you want, I can send them to you of what we do whenever we meet a client. Or Gabe, I don't know. Do you have any other suggestions on how can you again, it goes back to visually seeing, well, what are the commonalities of every time I meet a buyer or a seller? Because we repeat ourselves. We fall into patterns, right? So the step is to write down that pattern, because don't leave it in your head. Look at it and then analyze it. And how can I scale it? And then if you hire someone, what do? You show them the system, the process, and then you say, look, these are my steps. This is what I want you to follow, so that then the experience becomes the same thing. What do you think?
I think the best example I could think outside of real estate to prove exactly that point would be actually McDonald's. They're notoriously known, right? They have this type of reputation that can take anybody from any degree, from any type of background, and automatically make them learn like a robot exactly what you need to do. It has nothing to do with your skills, your mindset, your anything. It's really that you do exactly this like everybody else, and this is how you do it, and you do exactly this. And it's written down, it's visual, and they show you, and they say, if you do it exactly like this, it will be perfect.
And Gabriel, that's the book we were talking about earlier. I don't know if we said it in the English version or it was in the French, but it's a fantastic book that anybody that's in business should read. It's E-Myth. From what's his name? Michael Gerber is the author, and it talks about what you just said. If I remember correctly, it's about the processes, the everything that McDonald's did in order for them to scale to the size that they scaled and have the same result at the end. Yes, Stephen.
So there's another question. To what extent should a broker plan for the future?
To what extent should
a broker plan for the future?
Yeah,
I think it's crucial. I think if we're not actually thinking about our future and we're too busy with our current clients, we're in for big trouble. And that's actually what most brokers are going to end up doing. They're so focused on the now. They're so focused on I'm going to be getting that commission because I'm doing this right now, so I'll be getting it now or soon, and so on. And they don't think about the vision. They don't think about the long game or the long-term plan. And that's why we sit down a year after having a crazy year, being in the top of their industry, or not necessarily industry, but at least the agency. And they ask me basic questions like, oh, how can I get clients?
Well, yeah, and it's funny for me is that, but that comes back to the being in a reactional. Is that a word? Reactive mindset. Always just being reacting to whatever the hell happens right now or in the short term, and not looking at the long term. That's why when I say stop working with buyers, I don't mean literally stop working with buyers, but change the mindset to look at, okay, wait, if I'm going to be doing this long term, I got to get into the getting the inventory here, getting listings, prioritizing that and working on it every day so that eventually I can have a sustainable growth in my business and not be just reacting to whatever happens. If you're working with buyers, it's you're just reacting. You're in no control, zero, especially in a market like right now. But this applies to all markets. You have got no control on your business, zero, and you have no visibility. So how the hell are you supposed to? I'm not saying take the buyer and throw it in the garbage. We'll talk about that some other time. And if you want more info, reach out and I'll share what I mean by that. But I mean, don't exchange time for money with the buyer. Stephen, we have a comment or a question.
Yeah, so Maria was saying it's probably a question for another time, but she'd like to see a real estate agent's schedule, one of the agent's schedules.
Yeah, Maria, there's no bad question here. This is the purpose of this show. It's to answer anything that has to do with real estate. We can veer off topic. God knows I like to do that. So the question was a calendar?
Yeah.
And I have a problem with paying attention to question. What is it again?
She'd like to see a broker's schedule or calendar, what it looks like, and so on, based on what you're saying. And I think we'd actually have a pretty bad surprise, actually, or surprising.
I think most don't use a calendar at all.
100%.
Or, but you would know this more than me. They have potentially just the visits, or not even maybe not, but in any a presentation or face to face, it'd be in a calendar. Everything else would not be in the calendar. Am I right? Or
Exactly.
I mean, I know you do some work with them, so you
no,
must
exactly. That's what I was going to say. Is that it's usually one of the fundamentals. I asked them, okay, what does your schedule look like? First of all, they don't know, so I have to start forcing them daily to write every single thing they actually do, for them to realize they waste 3, 4, 5 hours a day. And then I realize that whatever is actually booked in their calendar is admin, because it's visits.
Yeah.
I think Mike had a question.
Before we go to Mike, though, Maria, if you'd like more specific information on it, I'm not too sure what the purpose is, but if it was in regards to maybe becoming a real estate broker and seeing, well, what's the kind of, or was it more about your own business and how to get better at managing the activities in your business, so that you're doing more growth activities than administrative or customer service? If you end up, because I think everybody, Gabriel, ends up with a problem of, I have too much of the servicing part to do to focus on the growth, and that's why you get these sporadic ins and outs.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah,
Gets
there's two questions. The first one is from Jean-Francois from Laval. He's saying that he'd rather have listings because it's a lot easier to scale than to have a bunch of buyers.
Absolutely, Jean-Francois. It's much easier, even though easy is maybe not the right word. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be less
simpler, maybe.
And you get the
schedule.
Visibility. You have sellers. It's like having a store with shoes and things in it, right? Amazon, if you wouldn't go to it if they had no inventory. Why is it so successful? Is because they actually forecast or predict with artificial intelligence what people are going to buy, and you get it right away. So if you have inventory, you're good.
Second question, Mr. Sebastiani says, Etienne, if I ever come on this live, I want the topic to be lessons in business that I've learned playing Monopoly.
Well, Monopoly is my favorite game, Nick. So actually, what we'll do is we'll play for 4 hours straight and live. We'll do a live Monopoly game. That would be cool. It'd be boring for the the viewers, but it'd be fun to do.
But one thing's for sure is that the team is going to be, Gabriel's going to say, F this, I'm out. I'm not working with Etienne anymore.
I think we should do this. Nick, we want you on the show. We talked about it already. Maybe we could do it on Wednesday if you're available. You write to us, or Thursday, or whenever you want. But we're going to be at the where are we Wednesday? We're at the Saint Michel office. So if you want, be great. Any other comments or suggestions, or that is it for today?
That's it.
So Nick is laughing, and I think that's a wrap. We're good to go.
All right. So maybe say just one before we go. We have the draw.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gabriel.
Sure. So I think we can pull it up on the screen. So we are now at number 62. Very easy to actually participate. You simply need to like, share, comment, tag anybody, follow the page, even Google reviews, anything that counts as an interaction will give you a chance to win. The things that are to win is we have 4 Apple products. We have an iPhone 12 Pro Max, if I'm not mistaken, iPad Air. We have the AirPods Pro, and we have a MacBook Air also. So over $10,000 actually in value.
So go back to the 60 episodes we did. Like, comment, pay, tag. What's the word?
Everything
Share.
I just said, basically.
Yeah. But you get a chance. You can do it multiple times too per show and still get multiple chances to win. You should, because it's about $10,000 worth of Mac equipment, and you need it in your business anyways to be more efficient. We have Nick Sebastiani, famously. Nick, who's been with us, shares a lot of our shows with his network. He participates. That's going to be our guest on Thursday. Is that right, gang? On Thursday? Perfect. Great. So tune in. Until then, thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Mike. Thank you, Steven. Thank you, Amy.